the sidelines. Has a man wide open. It's tipped. It's picked off. MJ Devonshire. Got face. He's going to take it to the end zone. Pittsburgh takes the lead.
He loves those moments. It reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John's. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell 3. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin.
Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplify Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Mason Kling, Kent Vanderwood. And before I ask them how we're doing, because I always forget to do this, got to plug the pod accounts. If you end up liking this episode, please review the episode on Apple, Google, whatever, helps the podcast out. And if you want to see all of our dumb thoughts, go follow us on Twitter, X, whatever the fuck it's called, at Simplify Pod. Mason, how you doing tonight?
It's been a long week. Feel like I've been wandering through the desert after a plane crash after the game on Saturday. But we're here, we're alive. There's an oasis that is college football next weekend. So we're here.
College football is being played. Other teams than Pitt are playing. That's sort of the bright side to it. Yeah, I've been in a fugue state, Walter White style. I'm going naked into the convenience store, and I'm blaming it on Frank Cignetti.
That's actually, we haven't talked about it yet, but that's a pretty damn good analogy for how the season's gone.
Yeah. Ken, how you doing?
Feeling spooky. Happy Halloween, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. My focus has completely shifted away from Saturday, and looking forward to the start of Pitt basketball this week. So that's another positive thing to kind of keep us going a little bit as well.
Yeah, we have the exhibition game this week. I think it's Thursday, right?
I think so, yeah.
And then first game of the season, NC A&T Monday on, I think it's ACC Network Extra. So, hey, we'll be talking about that. We'll have Pitt basketball next episode. If you want a Pitt basketball preview, we've got an episode out on that. Go scroll back in the library. Not right now. Wait till this episode's over. But we got it. Our friend Mike was on. It was great.
It's in the archives, baby.
It's actually weird to be doing a podcast long enough now to have archives. It's like, oh, yeah, just scroll back. It's like, damn. We've been doing this quite a long time. It's Tuesday, Halloween, October 31st. And most importantly, that means the college football playoff rankings dropped today. The spookiest rankings of them all. I don't know if you guys have seen this. These actually probably just dropped right before the show. We started recording. So have you guys seen them?
No, I have not. Give me the first six.
First six. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Michigan. Number 4, Florida State. Number 5, Washington. Number 6, Oregon.
Wow.
The Big 12 comes in at number 7, Texas, and number 9, Oklahoma, which I have to make a point here. Why is Texas in front of Oklahoma when Oklahoma beat Texas? And then you go farther down the rankings, and Oklahoma State is behind Kansas, even though they beat Kansas. Now, that's not Kansas disrespect. I love Kansas, Rock Talk Jayhawk. But, why are we not counting head-to-head wins? That's one gripe I have with it.
That's a great question, and if you're looking for an answer from me, you're not going to have it.
No, not at all. I will say it looks like with the top 6, right, having Ohio State 1 and Michigan 3, it looks like the first determining factor is quality of schedule, right? Ohio State's played Penn State, they played Wisconsin, they beat Notre Dame. Even though they didn't look great in those games, the offense looked mortal, they still won. Michigan has looked more dominant, but they played a weaker schedule. Get down to Florida State and Washington at 4 and 5. Those are the two teams with game control issues. So that's where you're seeing this, at least how they're differentiating between the top 5. Once you get to 6, it's fucking all hell breaks loose. it's all the voters who don't watch the games.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't really matter, honestly. Everybody knows it's a 14 playoff. So setting up though for Washington to make it, like Washington or Oregon to make it in, winner of that Pac-12 championship, given that depending on how the Michigan-Ohio State game goes. Surprise! I don't know. I think it's a pretty fair ranking.
I agree with the top 5. I don't think I have any issues with the top 5. I don't love Texas over Oklahoma. I think there's a little bit too much recency bias on Texas losing by 2 in bad weather. We'll get to that game. I will say, though, it's interesting. If you look at the rankings, right, every team 1 through 13 does have a path to the playoff. I think LSU is where you cut it off because that's where you get 2 lost teams. But, like, Louisville, if they go undefeated and beat Florida State, there's a case for Louisville. They might have the worst loss out of any football playoff team, but
I think that should just be what we root for, because a Louisville team in the playoff that lost to the Pittsburgh Panthers would just do wonders for my ego.
It would be a great trivia question. Like, Louisville made their first college football playoff appearance in 2023. Who was the team they lost to in the regular season? You know, that would be awesome. But I mean, like, Missouri can if they beat Georgia, which is a big if, they can go 1 loss in the SEC, win out. Penn State, I think, is the only team that doesn't control their own destiny in this regard. Ole Miss kind of doesn't. Depends on how LSU and Alabama plays out, but it is a very wide field for the first week. We do have a ton of 0-1 loss teams.
Yeah, that's a good point. And going off of what Mason said before, too, I mean, Pitt beat Louisville. They have a chance against another one of these teams this weekend. So we can make it really funny. We could make it super interesting.
It's like one of those things where, do we root for Louisville to make the playoff because you need some chaos to happen there, I think. Or do we like just to have that kind of over their head for pretty much the rest of the time? Or do we root for Florida State just so we have for sure a team from the ACC in the playoff and not have the, ACC is a dog shit conference kind of talk track going?
Personally, I'm not a root for the conference guy. I think every other team in the conference should lose all their games and we should win all of them. I get if you do that, but personally, not my cup of tea. I think the funniest possible outcome is 12-1 Louisville beats Florida State in the title game, and then their loss to us keeps them out of the playoff for like a 1-loss Alabama. I think that would be the funniest possible outcome.
What if I know we're getting ahead to the preview a little bit, but what if we also beat Florida State, and that's just the deciding factor between Louisville and Florida State is that they both have 1 loss to the Pittsburgh Panthers?
One can dream. One can dream. I'll put it nicely.
Yeah.
Is that not what I just said 2 minutes ago?
I don't know.
Did you?
Probably.
Yeah, I did, but it's fine. We'll move on.
Sorry, we stole your bit, Kent.
It's a shame nobody's recording this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the replay.
Yeah, throw the challenge flag like all these fucking Geico commercials.
Yeah.
If you did, Kent, I apologize. I might have been looking at some scores over here on my iPad as we go.
I mean, listen,
an iPad kid.
None of us listen back to the episodes. We record them. They leave our brains. It is what it is. Anything else on the college football playoff rankings? Fair but weird, I think, is the right way to go.
Yeah, it's early. I mean,
yeah, it's the first one.
First one each year. It's however it starts. It's not how it looks at the end. So
you always got to overreact. Come on, man. This is a business.
If these 4 teams aren't in, I'm gonna retire. Like that, the one Phillies commentator just said if the Phillies didn't make it to the World Series when they were up 2-0 in the series, he was going to retire, and has since been back on the air.
Wasn't he on the air for Game 3 too?
That I'm not sure, but
I think he was. I'm not going to double check myself. I'll be honest.
You can't do it. You can't do a retire. You can't do a retire bet and not retire.
Shout out Mel Kiper. Who's that? Jimmy Clausen, retire bet. Okay. Speaking of Jimmy Clausen, who went to Notre Dame, let's talk about the game. Look at that transition right there. Boom. This game sucked and everything went wrong. Everything went wrong. The real storyline for me is that of Notre Dame's, how many points they scored? 58. Of their 58 points, 37 points were a direct result of a Pitt turnover, a Pitt special teams disaster, or a defensive score.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I mean, that's the game right there. I mean, in the first half, the defense performed very well. You think about it, like the punt return touchdown, not their fault. I mean, they kept Notre Dame to 10 points. I don't know if they would have kept them at 10 the whole first half, but that whole first half, the defense is standing on their head, and the offense was completely useless until Notre Dame put in their backups.
Even then, I mean,
hey, we scored a touchdown. Shout out Nate Yarnell, gang.
30-year-old Nate Yarnell.
30-year-old Nate Yarnell.
I would love to see what's going on in the production truck when they see a very normal-aged college quarterback coming out and they say, this guy's 30. I don't know if you have any insight on that, but it was weird.
I want to give our listeners a peek behind the curtain. We're at the bar watching this game. I see that graphic flash up. I tap Mason on the shoulder and I go, dude, he's 30 years old. And of course, there's some guy sitting in front of the TV, and this girl sitting next to him goes, yeah, he's 30. What about it? I go, no, sorry, not about that. Game graphic, my bad.
Not the random guy at the bar that we're pointing at.
That just sort of sums up the day, right? Our backup quarterback comes in and they call him a 30-year-old. Gumby's not 30 years old. Come on, man. Come on. I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore. Just fire Frank Cignetti. It would turn down the heat on Pat like 10 degrees.
Yeah, dude, it was rough. I'll say, they kept us on our toes at the beginning. Without that punt return touchdown, we had an opportunity for a touchdown of our own. We missed an open receiver early on. It could have been a different tone set early in this one, and we missed a few opportunities early, and just the mistakes started piling up. And that's what happens when you have your opportunities. You got to take advantage of them in a game like that.
The fact that we turned them over, I think, 2 times on like the first 4 drives.
Yeah, we got picks on Sam Hartman on their first 2 drives.
Okay, so it wasn't even so it was the first. So like you have to get something from that.
Yeah.
I know Notre Dame's defense is very good, but you have to be able to do something. And then like nail in the coffin was the punt return. I know we kind of like kept it close, but there was no coming back from that. After that swing happened, all the air was gone. All the potential upset or keeping it close felt like it was out the window.
What I would say like the missed swing is like, so I think this is in the second half, but Notre Dame goes up, second half, 14-0. Then Pitt gets their best scoring opportunity of the day, and then we missed a field goal, which was always going to miss, obviously. Just the vibes are so wrong. And then after that, Pitt's drives go, interception, punt, pick 6, interception, punt, Nate Yarnell touchdown, punt, end of game. So, yeah, I mean, there's no way to look at this game other than a complete failure on the offensive side, which, I mean, like, the offense has looked bad before. There have been bad games. It has never looked this bad, and I think this was sort of the moment we're all waiting for or, like, expecting with this offense, right? Once we play, like, a real defense, it was going to look like this.
Yeah, it's just crazy that Louisville beat this team. We beat Louisville, like...
I don't know what it is, man, but like the defense is on the field the whole game, which was the issue. But like once that second half turned on, like they were just getting bullied the entire second half. I mean, I don't blame them because they just quit. They've been on the field way too long, and the offense was clearly not doing a single fucking thing.
Yeah, when you're a defensive player and you get 2 turnovers on the road against a team like that early, and your offense doesn't do anything with it, like what motivation do you have to get them the ball back again? Like, you just gave them 2 big turnovers against, a top tier college quarterback in his house, like, and they don't do anything. And yeah, at some point when the offense just continually looks the way they did, at some point you give up. So you can't blame the defense.
I forgot about this. We even turned them over on downs our 3rd drive. So yeah, it was 3 turnovers in the first 4 drives.
Yeah.
So
that'll be the story of the game. Once again.
Do you guys have any doubts about Christian Vieira after a 4 interception performance, or is it just sort of young quarterback taking his lumps, good defense? What's your read there?
I think it's more the latter.
I agree.
Definitely a come to earth moment, and I think that'll be good for him long term. But not ready to bash him for this quite yet.
Yeah, I agree. We had to see him with his back against the wall, and he had to. You got to face teams like that at some point. It's good to face them early. This season we're not going anywhere anyways. It's good to face a team like that, have an experience like that, learn from it, don't make the same mistakes again, watch the film, get better from it. Like, that's all you can ask from a young quarterback. It'd be different if he was older. He's a sophomore. Every sophomore quarterback's allowed to have a game like that when you have an offense that is this poor.
Kenny Pickett took plenty of lumps, so.
Yeah. I mean, and to give I agree with both of you on that. Also, there's not been a single offensive line starter for Pitt that has started all 8 games this year. So there's just, between the scheme and the line and like the talent gap between Notre Dame and Pitt, I don't think this is ever going to happen. I think there was just too much stacked against him. And like you said, he was due for a come to earth moment. I wish he wasn't playing Florida State next week so he could have a bounce back week, but unfortunately we are.
Yeah. Get back on the horse, son.
Yeah. Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 ways you can look at that as him and as a team. It's like, all right, are you going to lay down and feel like that and get embarrassed like that again? Or are you going to use it as motivation? Like, wow, we really just got smacked in the face. What are we going to do about it this week when we have another test and another team that's at home this time that's going to be like that? Are you going to step up and not get embarrassed like that again? Or are you going to lay down and make the same mistakes and have a similar result? So,
Kent, that's very blue vase of you. Putting all the negative thoughts in the blue vase.
All the negative thoughts in the vase, they got to come. They got to come in the radius of the vase.
You're buying into the Narduzzi method, I guess.
Well,
can we put Cignetti in the vase and leave him at the practice?
Lock him in there like a genie.
I was
ship him out to some group of 5 school that rubs him, and then he pops out and he's their offensive coordinator.
You break the vase and a curse is just put upon your school.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
How much would you pay to see Pat Narduzzi on the sidelines this weekend in a blue vase costume?
That's worth the price of admission for the Florida State game.
Yeah, 100%.
Whatever a student ticket is, that much. That's how much I would pay.
Well, speaking of Pat Narduzzi, the biggest storyline in this game is not the 4 turnovers. It is not the 4 picks. It's not the 3 turnovers that the defense caused. It's not the final score. It's Pat Narduzzi putting his fucking foot in his mouth like an asshole after the game and the drama that unfolded around it. If you haven't seen this by the time you're hearing this podcast, I commend you. You live a better life than me. I saw this on Saturday night, and it ruined my entire night. I had to go to bed. The quote is as follows: after the team got beat down their worst loss since 1996, a 60-6 loss to no one else but Notre Dame. As a football coach, you lose a lot of good players a year ago, he told reporters after the game. You think as a coach, we have to replace them. We obviously haven't. Put a period in that right there. It starts with me. I didn't do a good enough job coaching today. Put it on me. Noah Hiles of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette posted this quote without that second part. He cut off the "it starts with me. I didn't do a good enough job coaching today. Put it on me." This caused a drama explosion. Every single player you've ever heard of quote tweeted this with ellipses, emojis. Oh, fuck that. Wendell Davis even dunked on us. He hasn't played for us in 3 years. I think his quote tweet was, "You didn't do a good enough job replacing Mark Whipple," which is true. Good on you, Wendell Davis. He's carrying the narrative. My personal take on this is it's true, but you shouldn't have fucking said it, Pat.
We talked about Dabo Swinney last week and kind of reading the room a little bit on the situation when he had some comments in the post-game presser. And then Pat Narduzzi goes out and pretty much does the same. I mean, maybe not to the level that it pissed people off, but it took a game that we would love to kind of bury the tape and sweep under the rug and said, hey, here's some national headlines about this. Here's a game that was awful that the coach's comments after the game is making it even worse. Great.
Not even national headlines, a fucking national embarrassment. Like, this was immediately every single outlet picks it up and they're like, Pat Narduzzi rips into players. And I mean, I get it. You lost fucking 58-7. At a certain point, like, I don't know. Because, like, you think about all the NFL players that have come through this program, not even just last year, but the last 2 years, right? You think about Kenny, Damari Mathis, the two safeties that got drafted, Brandon Hill and Eric Hallett, Carter Warren, Izzy Abanikanda, Kalijah Cansey. Like, you think about all the positions we lost players at, those are the positions we're hurting at this year. Offensive line, defensive line, safety, linebacker, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Like, he's right. He's correct to say it, that they have not done a good job of keeping that level of talent, right? Like, they don't have the same defense that they've had the last couple of years. I don't like Nate Temple starting at the end. I've made myself very clear on this. They have not done a good job replacing guys like Hava Baldonado, Desmond Alexander, John Morgan, who transferred to Arkansas. Like, the most frustrating thing is that he's right, but also, like, given the nature of college football media now, every single fucking player and recruit saw this, and they were all rightfully pissed. Like, this is something you say to your team to be like, you guys didn't do well enough. Not something you go up to the microphone stand and say to the fucking media.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the misquote too. Like, he does, it's almost like he has like a Pat, like, doy moment. And he's like, he says that. And then he was like, but it starts with me, but it starts with me. But of course,
Right,
that wasn't
absolutely did that.
that wasn't the part that was, you know, on that, all the headlines and stuff.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the biggest thing is you see every single player quote tweeting this. Even though you did lose some pieces and you haven't necessarily done a great job filling those positions back, you still have good pieces on your team. When you have a quote like that, you piss off everybody. You lose the entire locker room, and the pieces that you do have that are at that level of talent are also super not happy with you, and they're going to leave also. And then you're left with nothing. So then you got to replace an entire roster. And it's just who wants to go play for a coach that says things like that about his own team and pisses off his own players like that? That's the other thing. It has long-term effects. It's not just the short-term thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not in full panic mode about that until someone transfers. Like, do I think there might be some transfers out of the program this year as a result of this? Yes, I would expect it. I would say odds-on betting favorite would be Gavin Bartholomew, if I'm being real. But I did sort of step back for a second and look at it. And, I mean, throughout Pat Narduzzi's 8+ years, he's always been a player's coach. Like, he's had his guys' backs to a fault, and his players appreciate that and respect that. Like, you think about the only players that really have public beef with Pat Narduzzi is the only guy is Paris Ford. Like, other than that, coaches love him. I was actually talking to Tony the other day, and he's like, yeah, Pat is first and foremost a player's coach. Like, I don't think it's going to be a mass exodus of players out of the program. I do think Gavin Bartholomew will leave unless we hire a really good offensive coordinator. But I just wish our coach, who made a bad OC hire, who shot himself in the foot, wouldn't then whip out another gun and shoot himself in the other foot with a stupid quote.
Well, if he really is a player's coach, though, he should be able to kind of mend this. And if this is truly is just a fuck up, I think if he's a player's coach, he can get those guys to realize hey, that's my bad. I didn't mean it, and get them to kind of buy back in to the program stuff, which I hope for, obviously.
Yeah, that was actually going to be another point of mine too. Is you already know first thing Monday, he was having an entire team meeting and was just got up there. Hopefully this happened. I mean,
he did say that he apologized to players on the plane back from South Bend. So it wasn't even Monday. He did it right after he said it, and he saw all the fucking online fucking news about it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good to address it early. Hopefully, maybe he also reiterated it, early next week after everybody was hopefully
away.
Had a couple days to really calm down and digest things. So yeah, I mean, hopefully some, like you said, there was some mending with that there.
I would think there has to be. I don't think that I think obviously he tried to put the blame on himself. It's a coaching thing, right? Maybe it's game calling, maybe it's coaching guys up in practice. You see what his intent was. I do think he's going to be able to mend the relationships with a lot of players. He is a player's coach. I would as soon as I say this is going to happen, but I'd be shocked if we see a ton of guys leave other than Bart. I think he's a Georgia Bulldog or whatever. But I think we have to talk about how this quote came out from Noah Hiles, right? He clipped it without that putting the responsibility back on himself. I think, like Mason said, he knew he just put his foot in his mouth. He walks it back and he's like, this is my fault. It's not the player's fault. I'm not going to blame my guys. Hiles is completely unapologetic about this. And I think he'll never say this, but I do think that he knew what he was doing as far as getting clicks on this tweet, right? This was an incendiary tweet that Pat Narduzzi walked back right after, which was excluded from the quote. He had to talk about it in his Monday presser. And to my knowledge, the tweet is still up, and Noah Hiles was gave an apology, but not an apology. Personally, I think he had to give an apology because the team was going to revoke his press pass if he didn't. That's sort of fan fiction on my part.
Did he do the I'm sorry you're mad about it kind of apology?
Yep.
Yeah, what an asshole.
What I mean, he's on an all-time run of heater stinkers. First it was the whole blue vase thing. Now it's this.
He was also first on that tight end thing. I mean, that was true, but people,
right,
Narduzzi vehemently denied it, and then he kind of looked like an ass at that point. But
he's making a pretty good argument for being on our Narduzzi shit list. So
you got to think he's on it, dude. You got to think he's on it. I just wish that after all these comments, we could have played Syracuse this weekend and not fucking Florida State. Good God. That, if anything, is going to make guys transfer out. It's this game coming up this weekend. That's my read on it.
Yeah. Like I said earlier too, though, it's also kind of hard to go from a game like that and just immediately flip to a team that you should be and really actually beat them like you should. But I guess we'll still have to do that because we have to play Florida State and then play Syracuse anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, dude, yeah, like I said before, though, we know they're capable of playing better than they did on Saturday. If they can make it somewhat respectable this week and just clean up the mistakes, it'll be a much better game, much better final score, hopefully, and just keep it respectable. Even if you lose, move on to a much easier to beat Syracuse team and beat them at Yankee Stadium. Gives the fan, you got to have something to build on this week. You got to, I don't know.
don't get
It
blanked.
can't be this bad.
Yeah. You can't have two absolute stinkers that bad in a row.
I think the good thing is you can only go up from this week's game. You can play as bad. I think that's a possibility, but it's the probability that you play another game just as bad is less likely than improving just a little bit. Like if the starting offense doesn't get shut out against a top 4 team in the nation, that's an improvement. I will enjoy watching that, even if we fucking lose. Don't lose by 50. I think that's the real ask this week.
Yeah. But I mean, they had opportunities and they had mistakes, like just mental mistakes. Like clean these things up. Clean the things up that you can control. If it's a talent gap, obviously, there's only so much you can do. But there's things that you can clean up that the other team is not responsible for. If you clean those things up, it's already a much closer contest than it ended up being on Saturday. So,
yep. And you can clean things up by taking out the trash named Frank Cignetti Jr.
He's going in the vase.
We're putting him in the vase. Actually, I'm locking Pat Narduzzi in the vase, and I'm not letting him out until he fires Frank. It's sort of the grandma in the cage tweet. All right, let's move on. Bury the tape. Burn a football, bury a football. I don't know. Did he bury a football as Dan Campbell did?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're burying.
Or it might have been the actual physical, like, VCR tape or something like that. I forget the story exactly, but whatever he did, do that shit.
There's 100% chance. Actually, I own a VCR player, technically. I have it on TV with a VCR player in it. I think that Pat Narduzzi has a VCR player. He seems like that kind of guy.
For sure.
That's actually how he got Frank Cignetti's offensive camp tapes. No CDs, no Dropbox. He got VCRs. He's like, I like this guy.
It's right next to his Walkman.
He's using AOL.
Yeah, he's talking so much shit on AOL after the game.
The message boards, they take a while to load, but god damn it, they'll load. All right, that's enough. Let's recap week 9. Y'all ready?
Let's do it.
Running through the top teams, Georgia beat the piss out of Florida 43-20. Florida just can't compete. They're not a serious contender anymore. Georgia is looking like it woke up even without Brock Bowers. That is a scary thought to any other team ranked in the top whatever. Ohio State 24-10 over Wisconsin in Camp Randall. Ohio State, like, they are a very weird team this year. They don't have the offense. Their defense is completely elite, which is like just not the regular. And then the offense is just sort of there. They do enough to win, but they're not the Ohio State offense. So it worked against Notre Dame, worked against Penn State. Michigan's still coming up. I don't know. I mean, early in the season, you think it's like sleepwalking. At this point, they are who they are. Florida State beat Wake Forest 41-16, mentioning that for no particular reason. First upset. Big 12 no longer undefeated. Oklahoma loses to Kansas 38-33. Kind of watching this one throughout the day. This one actually was in a lightning delay for like an hour, so it finished in the afternoon slate. But goddamn, they were up Jasoning their bean and they beat Oklahoma.
Yeah, 2 for 2. We got a wouldn't it be funny streak going on here.
Right.
We went UNC previous week, and now very funny loss as well with the whole lightning delay. Things just got kind of weird with all the fans had to leave. Fans came back in. Fans tore down the field goal posts.
Love that.
It was beautiful.
This was also Kansas's first win against Oklahoma since the 90s. Since the 1990s. I think before any of us were born.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good for Kansas, man.
Good for listen, I love Kansas. Lance Leipold is fucking cooking there. Once Oklahoma and Texas leave for the SEC, it's like they're positioned to be one of the better teams in the new Big 12. And it's like them, Utah, Kansas State, maybe Oklahoma State. They're kind of figuring things out right now. But he has turned this program into something to be reckoned with, and you got to hand it to him. That's all you got to say. You got to hand it to him. Next up, I'm going to skip over this one for now. Penn State looked like Dookie, 33-24 over Indiana. Indiana could have won this one, but their coach is somehow more cowardly of a play caller than Pat Narduzzi. They had a chance to go up, to go up 4 late in the game, and they kicked a field goal to tie it, and then they pooped their pants. Shame on you, Indiana. We could have had 2 really funny games in a row this week. Next up, the 2 separation games we mentioned on our last podcast. Oregon beats Utah 35-6, and Louisville beats Duke 23-0. I'm not super shocked about the Oregon score. I think that was sort of expected with, Utah's offense being how it is. The Louisville score, that one was definitely more shocking to me. I thought Duke could have pulled this out. Riley Leonard did play, but he was clearly hurt. And now Oregon and Louisville sort of have the inside tracks in their respective conference to be in the conference title game.
I've got a question for you guys. Which of these games do you think is a more impressive win? Which of these gets the more of a look from the voters in the committee?
I think Oregon dropping 35, even though Utah's offense is not very good, right? Dropping 35 on that defense is impressive. And they did what they were supposed to. I guess Louisville did this too, but they did what they're supposed to against a limited offense with a backup quarterback. I guess you could make the same argument for Louisville, but their margin of victory was smaller, so I would have to hand it to Oregon.
Fair.
Yeah, I'd also say Oregon. I've been high on Oregon all year, and I think that they keep it rolling. So,
with how Washington has looked lately, sort of being a sleepwalking team, I don't hate a take saying that Oregon wins the rematch in the Pac-12 title game. Just saying I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Also, we got to talk about Arizona. They're now 5-3. They beat Oregon State at home in Pac-12 After Dark 27-24. Arizona, they might be cooking something down there. They almost beat USC. They upset number 11 Oregon State at home. Like, all I'm saying, they might be cooking down there in the desert. Okay. Next up, I think this is the single funniest result of the weekend. Georgia Tech 46, North Carolina 42. Mac Brown and the Carolina Tar Heels have comprehensively shit their pants. They gave up 22 points to Georgia Tech in the fourth quarter. I think they ran for over 250 yards on them. This is just the Mac Brown experience. They have a really good team. They take one stupid loss, and then they take another stupid loss. I didn't expect it to be this soon after.
Yeah. Verbal meme. It's the goofy meme where he's like, and I'll fucking do it again.
I'll do it again.
Yep. that was UNC these past couple weeks.
Yeah. Excuse me. Next up, one more ranked game I want to talk about. USC escapes Cal 50-49. They win on a failed 2-point attempt. USC is completely unserious. You cannot be giving up 49 points to Cal with a hurt Jaden Ott, who's their best player. So just unserious. Washington comes to USC next week, so we'll get to that game. But get these losers out of here. Get them out of here.
They it was funny before the game. It was in a bit of a delay because there was some protesters on the field. And
did we figure out what that was for?
I think something Israel-Palestine related, but I think the funnier narrative is just saying that they were protesting defense and it worked in this game because nobody was playing any of it. So, but I mean, coming down to it was the right call, I think, by Cal to go and try to win the game. But yeah, I mean, it's in the win column for USC, but man, does this not feel like a good one, you know?
Yeah, like when you're going against a team that's much more talented than you, even though I have all my gripes that I do with USC, they still do have a lot of talent. I cannot deny that. To go for 2 points and try and win it there, that's always going to be the right call. Like if you play for overtime, your margins get so much smaller in overtime that just go for it. You at a certain point, you're just not going to be able to keep up. apparently the protest was for the suspension of Professor Yvonne Del Val, a Spanish and Portuguese professor who was suspended by the university for allegedly stalking and harassing a professor from another school.
Okay, we were way off the mark.
That is so much weirder than what the hell?
I would have bought Israel Palestine too. That's fucking insane. That's absurd.
How does this professor have so many hitters? What the hell? He got a whole group of people to go and sit on the 50-yard line of the game. That's crazy.
Dude, the security at these big brain schools needs to be upped because remember a couple years ago there was the Harvard-Yale game disrupted by climate change protesters. Like, this just keeps happening. They keep getting away with it. They keep getting on the field, and no one seems to have any answers for it. Okay. I do have a couple other games outside the top 25 that I want to hit on real quick.
Can I guess one of them?
Go ahead.
JMU, 8-0, undefeated.
Well, they're in the top 25. I almost forgot about them. Let them in a bowl. They're not in the college football playoff rankings. They were in the AP last week. They were number 25.
Gotcha.
Yeah, JMU 8-0, Air Force 8-0.
Yep.
Air Force probably going to be the Group of 5 team, New York Six Bowl, unless Liberty jumps them somehow, unless they lose against Liberty. JMU, actually, they can make a bowl this year if not enough teams qualify at 6-6. Then through some backdoor, they could make a bowl. So hoping for that. They'd probably get some shitty bowl like the Bahamas Bowl, which has been moved to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, yeah.
It's a bowl game.
You know how pissed you'd be as a player if at least they did it now before bowl season.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they imagine
you're picked for the Bahamas Bowl, and then they just tell you, "Oh, actually, it's going to be in Charlotte."
Yeah, it's like you take a Xanax before the flight, and you wake up and you're in Charlotte, North Carolina.
It's like, oh, do we have a transferring flight here? No, this is where the bowl game's being played.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl's right down the street.
No, they're not even playing it in the Panthers Stadium. They're playing it at Charlotte at the college stadium. Which, Jesus Christ. No, the two games I want to talk about outside the top 25 are two ACC games. The other two ACC games of the week. That would be NC State beating Clemson 24-17 at home. Which, by the way, Clemson's now 4-4. I said, what did we say? Clemson could be 7-5 after last.
You said it were 7-5. I said they could be maybe 6-6 if they lose to NC State, which now they did.
6-6 is looking pretty likely here, fellas. No, but the reason I want to talk about this is Dabo Swinney's not post-game comments, but his comments on his radio show, which was yesterday. A fan rips into him saying he's a bad coach, asks him why he's paying him a huge salary to go 4-4. Dabo's response was, "You're part of the problem." Also says to the fan, "Tyler, if you want to apply for the job, go for it, and good luck to you." This is just like a 10-second excerpt from like a 5-minute rant that Dabo gave. I don't think Dabo's having fun anymore.
That's wow. I mean, what if Tyler did apply for the job and got it and ran a really good program where he used the transfer portal?
Yeah, used transfer portal, hired good coaches, not from within. Yeah, I don't know. But it's just, I need to be fed more Clemson losses because, like, at the end of the year, Dabo's going to be going up on stage like, we all die someday.
Dude, is there a chance they go under 500?
Let me pull up that schedule real quick.
I got it up right here. They play at home versus Notre Dame Saturday. They play at home against Georgia Tech. I think that's a win.
I don't know.
But yeah, like I'm saying, like none of these are necessarily guaranteed wins. Most likely, probably win that one. But after that, I mean, versus UNC at home, although UNC's looked bad the last couple of weeks, that one could go, either way. And then the one that we talked about last week at USC. So,
I think I still don't believe in South Carolina. They are not a good SEC team. They're now 2-6. I don't think it's out of the question that they do not win another ACC game this year. I mean, I don't think they're going to lose to North Carolina. Or I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame at all. Like, Notre Dame is just so much better than Clemson. Georgia Tech is feisty. They can get you. And then Clemson's offense has just looked bad all year. They only scored 17 against NC State. If UNC just has a good day, they're just going to score a billion points on Clemson, and I don't think they can keep up.
Yeah,
I mean, 500 is like super likely at this point, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if they lose Saturday, then they have to win 2 out of the last 3 to go 6-6, and you picked the 2. I mean,
I think they have to get the Gamecocks and one other, and none of the other 2 are guaranteed. Last up here, before we move on to the Week 10 preview, Miami 29, Virginia 26 in overtime. Virginia's a little frisky, and what's going on, Miami? Why are you losing? Why are you only winning by 3 in overtime to Virginia?
Virginia absolutely shattering their over win total for the year. I think wasn't theirs at like 2.5?
It's 2.5. What are their remaining? What's their remaining?
they're 2-6 right now.
They are 2-6. They didn't. Georgia Tech, Louisville, Duke, Virginia Tech. Oh, I don't know if they win another game. They're feisty.
Wait,
I don't know if they win.
did Virginia not beat their non-con games?
No, they only beat William and Mary.
So shouldn't that be three wins?
No, they beat William and Mary in North Carolina. They lost to Miami.
Oh. That was just me not know what's going on in the ACC. I thought you said they beat them.
No, they lost in overtime, to Miami, in Miami. So
Yeah, they had 3 very close, or 4 very close losses. They could very well have shattered their win total, but a 1-point loss to JMU, 3 points to NC State, 3 points to Boston College, and 3 points to Miami.
Now that I said that, they will
not win a game.
Yeah.
That's good because I have their under. I have money on that under.
Well, there you go. I just jinxed it for you.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Appreciate that. Anything else? Any other scores that I didn't cover? Nope.
I'm good.
All right. Let's preview Week 10. Did you guys know MACtion was starting this week? Because apparently MACtion started today.
I have seen some whispers through the grapevine that is Twitter, but haven't really dove into the lights, camera, MACtion quite yet.
Well, MACtion is baction. Just you're not going to hear this in time for the Tuesday games, but Wednesday games are being played. Weeknight slate, I'm not loving it. You've got Boston College at Syracuse on Friday. That's a bowl eligibility game. Wake Forest at Duke, 7:30. Duke's got to win that one just to not derail their season. You have a mid-off with TCU at Texas Tech. Let's just move to Saturday, shall we?
Yep.
Okay. Number 1, freshly minted number 1 Ohio State is at Rutgers. It's not going to happen, but this would be really funny. Bowl eligible Rutgers, by the way, not going to happen.
If there was ever, wouldn't it be funny?
If there was ever. I mean, hey, you're riding hot. You want to call it?
I'm calling Rutgers. I'm calling Rutgers here.
All right. We're on Funny Watch in Piscataway. That's 12 o'clock on CBS, 12 o'clock on Fox. Kansas State goes to Texas. Texas is only a 4-point favorite here. Kansas State has figured some things out. You think about their early season losses. They lost a neutral site to Mizzou. They lost at Oklahoma State, who seemed to figure some things out as the season's gone on. They're both 4-1 in the Big 12. The winner of this game pretty much has a path to the championship game. I believe that Quinn Ewers is still out. Don't quote me on that. I'm not going to look it up. But, I mean, hey, if there was ever a time for Kansas State to beat Texas, it's this year. Right now.
They looked okay last week with backup. What's his name? Malik
Murphy.
Malik Murphy. Looked okay with him in. So
Yeah, they were playing BYU, who I think is a little bit worse than Kansas State. I want to see how he plays against Kansas State. I think Kansas State's offense has figured some things out. They can really run the hell out of the ball. Yeah, I think this is probably the most interesting matchup in the noon slate because I think we're getting a lot of beatdowns in this slate. Like looking at it, you got Texas A&M going to Ole Miss, doesn't move the needle. Notre Dame going to Clemson on ABC. That's going to be a pasting. We have UConn going to Tennessee, which why? Why is that a thing? And then you get into the slate, you got North Carolina playing an FCS team. You've got Nebraska, Michigan State. Just a whole lot of games I'm not interested in. By the way, the 2:00 CW game is Georgia Tech at Virginia. That's certainly a matchup to put on the CW.
that's CW football right there.
That's CW. Did you know that NC State is undefeated on the CW as of right now?
Holy shit!
All right,
NC State.
I think they play on the CW again this week, or maybe next week. But right now they're undefeated on the CW. I lost my place. Afternoon slate, we got some pretty good games. You've got number 12 Missouri at number 2 Georgia. I think Georgia wins this. I think Georgia's woken up. They're not sleepwalking anymore. Missouri can make this one interesting. They do have a pretty explosive offense. If they're going to keep it close, got to make it high scoring here. But could be fun. Probably not in my eyes.
This is like the same. It's like the same game as it was Florida. Like 15 and a half point favorites. Like they're going to try to keep it close. I think it's a similar result.
I will say, though, this does kick off a pretty tough stretch of Georgia's schedule. They got home against Missouri, home against Ole Miss, and at Tennessee in 3 weeks back-to-back. Now, these are all pretty flawed teams, but they certainly are the best teams on the schedule. So if Georgia goes 3-0, hey, man, Georgia's back. Who are we to say?
Yep.
Florida State at Pittsburgh. Oh, we didn't even preview this game. No, not happening.
Come on, show me the path to victory. Jordan Travis gets hurt on the first play of the game. We don't root for injuries. We don't root for injuries, but I think that's the path.
Jordan Travis gets hurt. His backup gets hurt. The wide receivers, all their good wide receivers get hurt. Jaheim Bell gets hurt. All their running backs get hurt. And our offensive line plays a good game for the first time against Jared. Oh, Jared Verse gets hurt. There's such a talent gap here. I mean, the weather's supposed to be fairly nice too, 51 and cloudy. So it's not, you can't even muck it up in a weather game. And Florida State can run the fuck out of the ball, so who cares? But you would need weirdo black magic to win this game. And the reason I say this is because Keon Coleman has been going nuclear all year with Florida State, and I have no reason to suspect he's not going to How high would I have to set the line for Mosses performed by Keon Coleman for you to take an under? Let's say 4.5 Mosses.
I was gonna say if you put it at 5.5, I'm taking the under only because he might not play the fourth quarter. So we're making this bet based off 3 quarters of football.
Yeah. And then I think about one of their other receivers, Johnny Wilson, who's 6'7". He is 10. Yeah, he's 10 inches taller than Marquez Williams. He doesn't even have to jump to moss him.
We just don't match up. We just don't match up well with them.
No, not on either side of the ball. Pitt has done weird things in the past. We've already done our weird thing for the season. I don't think that the Death Star is going to fire twice. I think that's my read on it. Although I did say that earlier today and someone corrected me because I was thinking of only episode 4. Apparently the Death Star fired in Rogue One and I just forgot about it. So, I don't know. That was talking Star Wars.
Yeah. I'm a little lost here.
Oh, really? You never watched not a Star Wars guy?
Not a huge Star Wars guy.
Man, I'm sick. Fortunately, though, there are a couple of fun games on in this 3:30 slate to turn your TV away from the Pitt game. Bedlam, the last Bedlam for a while. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State, 3:30 ABC. Oklahoma is gettable. Oklahoma State's figured some things out. Oklahoma usually wins this game in a bloodbath, but I think it would be morally just if Oklahoma State won the last one for a while. And that's what I'm rooting for.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
Awesome. Also in the 3:30 slot, I kind of didn't realize this until now, but Virginia Tech, even though they're 4-4 overall, they're 3-1 in the ACC. They are technically one of the second place teams in the ACC, playing at Louisville 3:30. Hey man, I don't think it's going to happen, but if Virginia Tech wins this game, they've got one of the inside tracks of the ACC championship game. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's a possibility.
They look pretty good. Me and Ken were watching this game. They looked pretty solid against Syracuse on Thursday night.
They beat the shit out of Syracuse too.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying a lot, but they're feisty also. A lot of feisty teams in the ACC this year.
They're looking good.
Yeah, I won't pick them to win. I mean, I guess they do have a pretty good defense, and you can, as Pitt showed, if you get after Jack Plummer, you can beat them.
What's the spread in this game?
Louisville 9.5.
Yeah. Can pivoting to a different game here. Can Maryland get it done? Can they do it?
Yep.
No. Maryland is completely fallen. I mean, I would love for it to happen. Maryland's like completely fallen apart this season. After losing at Ohio State, they lost to Illinois at home. Then they lost to fucking Northwestern. They lost to Northwestern. They let Northwestern score 33 points on them.
Indiana played Penn State tough. I'm not ruling it out.
I guess like maybe they're both Ohio State hangover teams, and whoever has had more liquid IV wins this game. But hopefully it's not another Talia turned the ball over game. Yeah, that one sucked.
Yeah, dude, I have hopes for Maryland this week. I think if there's one year that they're going to beat Penn State, it has to be this year. With the way that Penn State's offense looks right now, and Maryland's been, as you mentioned, they started out hot. They've cooled off the last few weeks, but if they can really just step up to the plate for one game, they're at home. I think they have a chance this week.
Yeah, no, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know if I see it, but I'm rooting for it. Speaking of betting lines before, but Iowa at Northwestern, 3:30 on Peacock in Wrigley Field. It says the over-under on this game is 31. I think that number went up after they announced that Brian Ferentz has been fired.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that they're playing in a baseball stadium because the score is going to look like it too.
Oh, yeah. like we said, I think it was 2 weeks ago about I think it was Iowa, Minnesota. How low does this total have to go before you even consider betting an over?
I don't know. The firing of Brian Ferentz is the thing that's like maybe they're going to have a little bit of extra juice. Maybe they're going to get wonky and do some of these trick plays that get explosive. But then you remember it's Iowa.
Yeah, their quarterback sucks. If I personally like 20 anywhere from like 22 to 23.5, that's when I'm like, okay, this is a little too low.
Yeah, when you get in the 20s, that's when things are a little too crazy.
I think this line dropped down to 29.5 for a brief moment in time, which says a lot about this game.
And that's got to be one of the lowest. I think I remember there being like an Army-Navy game the one year that was like mid to low 20s. But this is, I mean, I was doing some unprecedented things here.
Okay, I think I've just found it. It says that the lowest point total in college football history is the 2022 Music City Bowl between Kentucky and Iowa. That's not true. That's 31 points. That's just not true. Thanks for lying. Getting my hopes up.
That's always tough too because it's different for like different places have different lines, and we got to really dig into the data for that one.
Maybe I'll try and figure that out. I probably won't. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything else in the afternoon slate unless someone has something to bring up. Okay. Next up, night slate, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Another shockingly 4-1 team in conference. Kansas goes to Iowa State, who is I did not know they were 4-1 in the conference. This is another conference title race game. Not the biggest game, but before the 7:30 kicks, this is a good one to have on. Purdue has a really funny chance, or 7:30 NBC. Purdue has a chance to do something really funny to Michigan after all this Connor Stallion stuff. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could. It'll be funny. Did you guys see I can't believe I didn't fucking bring this up. Did you guys see the photo that came out today of him just chilling on the Central Michigan sidelines today?
I saw that. Was that real? Was that confirmed?
So it's, for context, I know I probably didn't explain this well enough to the listeners. Connor Stalions, a photo surfaced of him allegedly being on the Central Michigan sidelines earlier in the year when they played Michigan State on a Friday night. Now, pretty much it's him. It's all but confirmed by an official source, like somebody who would know, right? I want to know if he used a fake name and what the fake name was if he used it.
Because Connor Stallions is already the fakest name in the world.
Yeah.
That's I don't know how with all this going. Yeah, dude, the story that keeps on giving.
It gets better every week, and I don't know. I just don't know how it keeps getting better. Okay. Next up, big game in the night slate, 7:30 ABC, Washington at USC, fireworks game. Washington, please take care of these bums. But this one is going to be, if anything, a lot of points scored. USC's got a bad defense. Washington's got a leaky one, both high-powered offenses. Total here is 76. You could fit 2 Iowa Northwesterns in this game.
And have a little left over for later.
I don't know. What are you guys thinking on this one?
A really fun parlay would be to take the under in the Iowa Northwestern game and the over in this, and then you get the yin and the yang, baby.
I might do that. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Just for rooting purposes, you get it's a fun. They're both fun narratives to root for.
Yep. Last couple games here. 7:45 on CBS. Weird kickoff time. LSU at Alabama. I don't know how the tiebreakers work, but LSU needs this to stay in the SEC West race. Do you guys have a feeling on this game?
This game always rocks. I think Alabama takes it.
Ooh, I like LSU here. I think that while LSU doesn't have a great defense, they have a better offense than Alabama has had all season. So I think that even though it's in Tuscaloosa, LSU has shown they can win there with a good offense in the last 4 years ago. I think they get it done.
Yeah, I'll be tiebreaker. I'll go with LSU in this one. I agree. I'm rooting for them. I hope they get it done on the road.
I'm the only one rolling with the Tide.
Why do you want the Tide, man? Just
Hey, I didn't say that. I didn't say I wanted them. I didn't say I wanted them. I'm picking with my brain today, Zach. I'm picking with my brain.
I'm not going to go for the layup dunk there. Jesus Christ. I've been up too long. Now, Kent, I hear you have a game for us in the late night slate.
Yeah, Zach, in honor of our beloved holiday that we are in the midst of today, we are going to omit a Christmas matchup of the week for a Halloween matchup of the week. Look no further than 10 p.m. on ESPN. We have Oregon State versus Colorado. This one is in Boulder, and Oregon State is probably going to kick Colorado's ass, but could not ask for a better color matchup for the Halloween matchup of the week.
So that was gonna be my question, Kent. Is this a spooky game for Deion Sanders in Colorado because they get Oregon State coming off an upset loss and they're probably going to get the best version of them? Or is it spooky because Oregon State drop another one, things start to fall off the wheels? But I guess you kind of answered that.
Yeah, no, I definitely going with the Beavers in this one. I think they're out for revenge from last week, and Colorado is too worried about having their jewelry stolen. I can't even say that sentence.
That's a tough
Jewelry
one.
stolen to come out for this game. They're going to be too worried about locking up their valuables.
Do you think Dion wears the prime shades for the night game? Does he do that? I don't even know.
I think that's I think he does, and I think that's why it makes people so mad.
You know, if he took the damn shades off and coached the team, I'm not going to do that bit.
Dude, he's literally been doing this. He was the look good, feel good, play good guy, and
Yeah.
he's literally been doing this to our dads for like 40 years. So not 40. That was an exaggeration.
I'll say, Mason, I think this game is spookier for Oregon State. I think you don't want to lose control of the season with 2 back-to-back road losses, but I think that Oregon State pulls it out just because they have better lines than Colorado.
Yeah.
Ken, are you trying to say something, or are you just getting really close to your camera?
No, I'm good. I'm just looking. I was trying to find the spread.
It's 13.5 Oregon State.
Okay. That's pretty much what I expected. So
Yeah. That'll probably do it for us, right? Nothing else?
I think that's all I got.
Another tight hour in the books. Thanks for listening to Simplify Podcast. I've been your host, Zach Kaminsky, joined by my co-hosts, Mason Kling, Kent Vanderwood. Appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, follow the podcast on Twitter at Simplify Pod. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell your dog. Fuck it. We'll see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.
beat the Knowles and go Terps.